on a special Sunday night edition of the Sideline Junkies, coming to you hot after AEW's Double or Nothing pay-per-view. It is I, the People's Choice, Don Rodriguez, along with the Nubian Sumo. And my, 9 matches of wonder. And I guess you could ideally call this the Wrestlemania for AEW. You can let me know if I stand corrected, but this has always been a show where they've done, and there's only been two of them, but there's been a lot of moving and shaking and title changes and epicness that has happened at Double or Nothings, and this did not disappoint. So we're just going to jump straight into it. James, how you feeling, my friend?
A little tired after going through all of that, but I'll endure.
So we're going to jump really just into the pay-per-view itself with the first 3 matches. You can tell me what the thoughts were. We had Brian Page going one-on-one with Hangman Page. Hangman ended up taking the dub on that one. The Young Bucks fought John, and I say fought, use that loosely because that was more of a brawl than anything else. Fought John Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And then we had the Casino Battle Royale match, which started with the club suit, and that was Christian Cage, Matt Sydal, Powerhouse Hobbs, Dustin Rhodes, and Max Caster. But we had the Joker, the surprise entrance, being your boy Leo Rush. But the overall winner of that was Jungle Boy. So that was the first 3 big matches of the night on the main show. So what was your thoughts on Cage and Hangman, or the Bucks versus Mox and Eddie, or the Casino Battle Royale?
Well, Cage versus Hangman was a pretty good way to start the actual show.
Right.
They did have a show during the buy-in, which was Serena Deeb versus Rio for the NWA Women's World Championship, which was a pretty good match in itself. So, but which was the one to start off everything, and it was kind of weird because watching that match, because it was the first match and it was still during the day, so
Right.
you had them dealing with the sunlight being in their eyes on that open end of the of Daly's place. The
Mm-hmm.
sun coming in. You could actually see Riho at one point covering her eyes to see Serena Deeb coming off the ropes and coming in for her at one point. So that was it was interesting, that little aesthetic. But again, the Adam Page and Brian Cage match was the rage, as our JR put it. It was a pretty good match. It was a great way to start the pay-per-view off, the visual pay-per-view. Um, then you had what was the second match again?
Uh, Young Bucks versus Mox and
Young
Eddie
Bucks
King.
versus Mox and Eddie Kingston. Yeah, that was an interesting match. Just like you said, it was more of a brawl than it was an actual match. The way they were going back and forth with each other, and I was actually surprised that the Young Bucks actually won. I thought they were going to give it to Mox and Kingston, but yeah, the Young Bucks survived and got through it. And then the Battle Royal was all right. I mean, I think I like the. think I've this out of all of them that they've had. I think this might be maybe second, maybe last.
Yeah.
I think they've only had like 3 at this point of those all-in battle royals. Um, the surprise being Leo Rush. You know, I was kind of, I don't know how to feel about that, because I knew he wasn't going to win. Usually the Joker is somebody that's actually going to have a chance to win, or having some type of impact on the match. But he came in, did his couple of minutes, and then was eliminated. So I mean, I don't know. The question with him now is, after all that mess that I talked about a few weeks ago with the cruiserweight, that the AAA AAA cruiserweight champion, World Cruiserweight Championship, and everything with MLW. Now that is he still with the MLW? Is he still with New Japan? As far as New Japan Strong is concerned, so we'll have to see. But yeah, uh, I didn't really get into the battle royal like I have with the ones that have been in the past.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because if he's not free, then that means that if he's vying and becomes, let's say, just throwing something out, TNT champion down the road, that would put him in interesting territory with MLW and AEW kind of sharing people like we see what's going on with TNA. So that could be something interesting. But then on the New Japan side, with them potentially inking this deal with the WWE, that would put him, if he still has ties to New Japan and he plans on going back there, pretty much back where he started.
Now
And
remember, MJF came from MLW into AEW, so they do have a connection.
right,
So yeah, it could happen. It could happen that they start that that partnership or that because there are some guys like, can you imagine a Jacob Fatu coming into AEW
they need a
or
Samoan.
Contra anybody from Contra period
Oh
coming
yeah,
into AEW?
they need
Uh,
it.
the Von Erichs
Yep.
showing up. Filthy Tom
Just
Lawler and Team Filthy and a third organization. So
just like
yeah,
that old style of still running, I guess, or pulling off of that WCW flavor, the way that they're doing with TNT and TBS and all those just old nostalgia things that you're seeing even with Tully Blanchard and everything, that would just fit right in. And then that could get you a even though it's a group name, but a death triangle type of match between TNA, MLW, and AEW for the heavyweight championship. Three big dogs, three champions vying to become champion. Kenny Omega would be trying to retain. Two others would be trying to take. So that could be an interesting factor as well. So we'll see. Especially now that everybody, I think, finally we're getting to the point to where they're going to start the one-upsmanship again, and it may kind of set this, I guess, Friday Night Wars, which is coming up on August 13th with Rampage coming. So it'd be Rampage in an hour going up against SmackDown, and down the road, we don't know where Dynamite's going on TNT, but if it hits Monday, I think the fact that they're going to be traveling against each other is really going to push both shows. So I think we may be going from a quote unquote day war to the travel wars, and to see who's going to put on the biggest show at the biggest venue or have the hottest crowd or everything else. So it's going to be pretty interesting. But speaking of crowds, I thought the crowd was mic'd up really well, and B, that was just they were just excited. I like the stage having some fans up on the stage and the way they changed the design of Daly's place to compensate for having a full capacity. Plus, I was happy to see that. What was your thoughts on the crowd element?
oh yeah, the crowd being back was definitely a difference maker. Not having the two entrances like they usually have and just going with the one, it was interesting. They started that Friday night, so I noticed that Friday night. The pyro needs work.
Well, they can only
I
do
mean,
this.
they can only do but so much. But I mean, if they're gonna do pyro, I mean,
It's all going to have to be.
I would say not do it at all if they're gonna do it. If that's what they're gonna do. So, I
There
mean,
may
I'll do more with the lighting or something than with the pyro.
isn't that wasn't it old school Ring of Honor that had more lasers?
Yeah,
Yeah, they may have to go with more lasers
yeah, more
and using
lasers,
those type
more
of things.
smoke, and
Yeah,
stuff like that, rather than the actual pyro.
right.
Save the if you're gonna do the pyro, save it for like the main event or somebody significant. to do the pyro with. But to do it for everybody like that, it
It's
really
not
it
happening.
really looks cheesy. Yeah.
Yeah. But then with the audio and the fans, I really could care less about the pyro. The surprise at the end behind Inner Circle was cool. My first thought was, oh man, I wonder how close those people are to those flames. But other than that, I could care less for pyro. Maybe Cody, I guess, for his continual pomp and circumstance. But speaking of Cody, that was he kicked off the fourth match of the night, him versus Anthony Ogogo. Fifth match of the night was, well, I'm sorry, Cody won. Miro picked up the win against Lance Archer, which I was shocked that Miro picked the dub up on that one. And the resident dentist, Britt Baker, finally can put the title to her moniker of being the face of AEW as she dethroned Hikaru Shida to become the better, well, the women's champion with the better looking, larger, actually form fitting to other size ladies champion. So, what do you think about those three? Cody and Anthony, Miro and Lance, and Shida and Britt.
Well, with Anthony Ogogo coming in with what was said to be broken, but now bruised ribs. He pretty, and for this to be his like second match, he looked pretty good. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, he moved around the ring pretty well. His psychology was pretty good. Facials were good. So yeah, I enjoyed that match between those two. I mean, that was a pretty decent match that they put on.
I was worried
As
to get blown up, but he had a lot in his gas tank.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they say he's been training for like 18 months. So I mean,
Yeah.
and plus, I mean, he's used to doing that type of training. I mean, former Olympics, former, all that, all the accolades that they were running off on him all night. So I mean, he's used to that type of training, so, at least. So yeah, he did very well for his second match, especially going against somebody like Cody on a big stage like this. So
Mm-hmm.
hats off to him. The next match was
Miro
again
and
Miro and
Big Man
Lance.
Hoyt.
Yeah, that was an interesting match. Like you, I thought they were going to give it to Lance. They kept it on Miro. Um, I had Raj who chimed in and was like, I thought they were going to give it to Lance or give him the push, and I was like, well, notice that he passed out to Miro's finisher and didn't tap out or or just give up. So that's what they usually do when they want to try to even in a loss it keeps him strong. So
Right, to give him the rubber. I
yeah.
didn't want him to get choked out. For him, I think that was a detriment and a bad finish. I would have rather have gone a DQ, and then it would have been that way than for another man, which now is going to look like the stronger man, to be like, well, I choked you out. You know.
Well, yeah, I mean this is something that keeps that going. It puts together another match for them. It keeps Lance in a strong position because he didn't tap out, he didn't give up. So I mean, he can say that in his promos. Yeah, you had to choke me out. I had to pass out for you to win. Yeah, I didn't give up. I didn't tap out. So that just keeps that going. That's what faces. That's what baby faces do.
Yeah.
So
Well, I guess if they spin it like it was, do a zoom in, maybe it was a legal choke or something, then that'll, I guess, save face and then set them up for like a cage match or a last man standing match.
yeah, it
And
puts them. It puts them together. It puts it together for another match for them at some point, which I wouldn't mind seeing. You
yeah.
know,
So what about your girl Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida?
they did the damn thing. I would say this. I would consider this match of the night.
I agree.
You know,
Wardrobe should included.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, her. You were thinking that it was going to be a malfunction, but it didn't happen.
Don't you me
Uh,
to it.
I'm saying, hey,
I could already,
whoever made that for Sheeta, they did a pretty good job. Except for that little piece, but yeah, the match was great.
because I
What's
was like,
that?
I thought they were gonna just say, hey, we need to go home on that one because of how in order to put the lockjaw in, that was kind of putting her in a unique camera angle situation.
Yeah, true.
So thankfully, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So that way they still got the finish. But I'm like, oh man, if she put her in, stretch it one more time, yeah, they're gonna have to do a cutaway real quick, and then how
Yeah,
they gonna do the finish? So they may have to do a roll back 1, 2, 3, and get out the ring type of thing.
but yeah, but the match itself was very good. Like I said, I make it match of the night, and I'm pretty happy to see Britt get get the belt now to see what she's gonna do with it. It's been a while, and she should have had it for she should have had it earlier than this, but they were waiting for Sheeta to get that crowd. They wanted to have her have that match with the crowd or whatnot. She'd been champion for a year, so why not give her that one match? So yeah,
I
so
agree.
yeah, it was.
I expect Big Swole to show up now because out of
Oh
everybody
yeah,
Britt Baker was having issues with, it's kind of like Swole disappeared, and this will be interesting for her to show up this upcoming Friday at Dynamite and have a little something to say. Or shoot, I wouldn't be surprised if Reba, not Rebel, or Rebel, not Reba, actually turns on her and says, "I actually intended to hit you on purpose," and just so that way she could get the championship shot. But what do you think about the first time in ring in quite some time, the returning Sting teaming up with Darby Allin against Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page?
Sting had a good showing. It was classic Sting. You
Yep.
know, the
He
Stinger
carried
splash. He got everything in the splash, the
the
Stinger, the
best.
Scorpion Death Lock, Scorpion Death Drop. He got ball. He got everything in. So yeah, he did. It was pretty good. Darby did a pretty good job with working with him. Kind of taking the onus in the match.
He carried the bumps.
He
The
carried,
bump
yeah, he
load.
carried a lot of the bumps in there and everything. Um, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page did a pretty good job as their shells. Especially Scorpio Sky. Being that this is a match that he's been wanting for a long time. It's like one of his dream match. He said was to be
Yeah.
in the ring with Sting. So
Yeah, I'd
yeah,
say Ethan Page was the runaway star as well. I haven't He hasn't impressed me on the mic yet, but his in ring work tonight, I mean, made him look like a juggernaut and somebody really that shouldn't be in a tag match. He should be going for the TNT Championship. I mean, he really proved himself and showed exactly what he had the potential to do going up against Darby and Sting. I thought he did a hell of a good job. Very well impressed with that. But then also, Sting pulling out moves like the Red Alert. I first thought he was about to shoot for the Canadian Destroyer or something. I was like, what? You go, Sting. I guess they figured if Dusty can do it, so can I.
yeah, he pulled out the code red one time in when he was in WWE. But yeah, he's had to improve, bring in a couple of moves in his move set in order to stay relevant.
Right.
Stay current. So yeah, along with just a couple. Nothing too serious. Nothing that's gonna get him hurt or anything, but just enough to keep him up to date. So yeah, that code red was something safe. Something he could pull off, and you know, yeah.
Yeah. Now the question is, how far down the line is it going to be before we have Darby versus Sting in a cinematic match or something? I expect that to happen at some point in the next maybe 6 to 8 months. just to free Darby up to go singles and give Sting something else to do. But that's just me. So then we had my wife was not happy with the finish, but the triple threat for the AEW Championship with Kenny Omega retaining versus Pac and Orange Cassidy. So
Well,
that
you
that
had
happened.
you had to know that was going to happen. You
I
had to
mean,
know he was going to win it. You
secretly
know,
yes, but I was really rooting for Pac.
well, I
I
was
mean,
rooting for Orange Cassidy, but I knew, you know, that Kenny was. I mean, Kenny has to stay strong for a lot of reasons. He has to keep the belt for a lot of reasons.
I agree,
So,
but I was
so yeah,
thinking with Jungle Boy winning uh, the Casino Battle Royale and getting the championship match in 2 weeks, I was like, who would I rather him face? Who would be a devious opponent without the run-ins and all that stuff? But that would have been Pac. That would just be, man, an educational lesson for Jungle Boy. Kenny
yeah,
Omega, you pretty much know how this is going to go.
yeah,
Jungle Boy's going to be looking good. There's the Good Brothers. He's going to start looking good. There's Don Callis. You already know how this match is going to be, and it's on Dynamite. So, yeah, you won, get your obligatory match, and then we move on. And that's really not what I want because I think Jungle Boy deserves a little bit better than that. If that was the case, then I would have given Christian a nod. And then, because Christian could take the hit, and it is what it is. I'll see you on the back end, and we'll have another match. But I really want Jungle Boy to have a fair shake. I don't know. That's just me.
yeah. I can see that. But they want they're gonna Jungle Boy is the best right now for the situation. So he's the big face that's going to be on now. Now remember, okay, so that's in 2 weeks, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's what
Like down the road.
June. That's like what June like the 12th or the 11th or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was thinking this is what they're going to be putting up after the next big weekend because you got a lot of things going on the weekend of June the 6th. You got June they moved in New Japan has moved their Dominion show their great their excuse me, they moved their next pay-per-view, their next big show to June the 7th, which is now going to be the title match for Okada
Okay.
because now because I haven't done That's So Nubian in a while, but this is going to be a mini one just for this situation. Um, there was supposed to be on June the 6th. There's supposed to be the Wrestling Grand Slam in the Tokyo Dome. But because of what's been happening with the pandemic and everything in Japan, they moved it to the 7th, which is Monday.
Right.
Now, Will Ospreay has hurt his neck back in May 4th in his title defense against Shingo Takagi, and they has no time frame as to when he's going to come back. So he's had to relinquish the IWGP World Championship.
Mm.
Weeks after that, Okada, who was supposed to get the title match on June the 6th, wound up catching COVID. So they postponed the match, which was supposed to be on May 29th, and moved it to June the 6th.
Right.
So now, because of the pandemic, like I said, they've moved it to June the 7th, and they've announced that since Okada is well enough to come back into the ring now after his quarantine, the match is going to be Okada versus Shingo Takagi for the World Championship. Now, you also have the NWA show on June 6th, their pay per view, uh, when our shadows fall, and then you also got the WWE pay-per-view was coming up too around that same time, right?
Yep.
So Hell in a Cell,
Mm-hmm.
isn't that Sunday?
I think so. Yeah.
So yeah, you got three different events going on at the same time, and then they're going to be following that up with this match. So it's it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you got your biggest heel against right now your biggest face, other than Moxley.
Right.
And I was so yeah. They needed somebody to actually be there to put the numbers on the board. And being that Moxley's in the middle of this tag team with Kingston, you got who next best person is Jungle Boy. So yeah, it should be a good match. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, I don't see Omega losing this belt anytime soon to
Yeah.
anybody.
I agree. It's kind of like their thing. Your champion is going to be champion for quite some time. Jericho laid the foundation down. I think. Who do you think the next champion would be after Omega? My vote would be MJF because I'd hate for him to go a third round of just winning the Dynamite Diamond.
I could see MJF winning the title, but not against Omega.
I mean, not again. I'm just saying after Omega. Omega loses at some point, but who's going to be the next? I guess you can call it longevity champion.
Oh
Um,
yeah, MJF would have to be. MJF would have to be next in line.
and I would say at that point, that's how Jericho could get the championship, or if push come to shove, Cody could be forced to rescind his original decision and become champion. Could be,
Yeah,
a short reign, but just
yeah,
to get the notch on the belt.
like a transitional champion. Yeah,
Yep. Just to put some, spotlight on the TBS run or something like that. When that's about to go live in January, that could happen, and then you could just take the belt off of him. Nothing major, but he just did what he had to do. So it could be him in a mask or something coming down and challenging and winning a belt, and then you realize it was him, and then you're like, it's just something I had to do. I don't know if he heel turns, whatever, but it could be something that your last match of the night, Stadium Stampede 2. Did it live up to the first?
I think it did live up to the first one. I actually think I believe I like this one better than the first one.
Really?
I think I did. I think
Even
I did.
Matt Hardy being reborn like 8 times?
That was one of the things that made this one better than that one to me. Yeah, the Matt Hardy thing.
No
But
botches.
yeah, nobody. It was pretty clean. I like that. The best part to me about it was when they went into the club level, and it
Yeah.
was FTR and Santana and Ortiz, and then they throwing people around and whatnot, getting to each other. They have the drink, and then all of a sudden you got Conan on the ones and twos over
Hmm.
in the corner. That was a throwback. That was the Impact TNA throwback for folks that didn't know. Uh,
And a old APA throwback.
yeah,
Can't remember who APA faced, but they did have a ballroom brawl where they fought some people and then stopped, had a toast drink, and then they just carried on with who their opponents were, and it was what it was. One of the many times they were just destroying that referee's bar.
yeah, yeah. But it was pretty good. I like the way it ended. With Guevara getting the win. I like that. Sean Spears taking the pin. I couldn't see. I kind of figured it would be him taking the pin out of all of them.
Right.
I didn't see anybody. I couldn't. It didn't make sense to me to have anybody else take that pin. But
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. And now that it's 1-to-1, what are they gonna do for the trilogy?
I mean,
How they gonna work that out? Because they've
traditional
already used two of their main gimmick matches.
traditional Survivor Series. It's going to have to be an elimination match.
Yeah, I guess.
That's
Yeah,
the
that's
only thing
it.
to do. And it's only elimination by pin or submission. So you just have to work it all the way down until it's 4-on-1, 3-on-1, 1-on-1, whatever it is, and that's how you end it. But
Yeah,
that's what I would do, and I would probably do that match on the Jericho Cruise if they
mm.
if that's able to happen. Then I would do
No,
it.
it's happening.
Well, I mean, allegedly, nothing. I don't believe it. Anything cruise line related until we see people on it that get off the boat without COVID. So.
No, I doubt you're gonna see that.
Yeah. Until we get to that point, I don't know. I don't know if they want to risk their entire roster being in a petri dish of COVID, because even though you're vaccinated, you can still get it. So you can't even rely on that. It's just X amount of hundreds of people confined. It's not going to be pretty. But
Yeah.
my question to you, from a production standpoint, before we wrap up, is: do you think they did the actual Stampede live? Or do you
No.
or you think that's what I'm thinking, right? I'd say probably 90% of it was taped the night before, and then the rest of it was a spillover when Jericho and Spears and Guevara all came into Daly's place.
You know what the giveaway was?
But
Jericho's arm. The bandages kept coming off.
right,
And every time they went to a new scene with him, the bandages were all back together again. It was like it was just rewrapped. So yeah, they that a lot of that was taped. I would say a lot of that was taped. I would say a good bit of that was taped.
yeah, that was
They did some live stuff in between to kind of make it, look like it was put together all y'all live or whatever. But a lot of that stuff, yeah, some of that, I would say, good 75% of it was taped.
yeah. My thought was I was hoping that, well, the crowd can't be mad like it was a couple weeks ago.
No,
So
no,
uh,
they can't be
yeah,
mad. I mean,
they're tired. They gave them OG, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania 4 hour specials plus the pre-show tonight. But I was like, man, it's gonna be kind of sucky. They're watching the whole entire stadium stampede on the one monitor. But once they spilled in, I was like, okay, they gave them something, and they gave them a go home moment. So then I was like, okay, good job. They learned their lesson. There was actually no botched, production issues this time. Everything went smoothly. So I would call this a 100% successful pay per view from stem to stern.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
I mean, if I had to pick something, I'd have to nitpick on, like, oh, this could have been a little better, that could have been a little better type of thing. But other than that, yeah, I was happy with it. But I will say that the biggest surprise, and you can tell me, maybe how in the hell they allowed this to happen, but Mark Henry is now a trainer and is going to be heavily involved in Rampage starting August 13th. How did
well,
WWE let Mark Henry slip through their fingers?
I don't know if Mark Henry has been under contract with them at all for a while. He might. I haven't heard anything about a Legends contract or anything like that with him. And he's been on Busted Open Radio for a while, doing this thing with Bubba Ray and everything on the radio,
Yeah.
on their podcast.
He's been
So
still
I
doing
mean,
podcasts and the busted open stuff. Sometimes he's a little critical, but mostly it's still heavy WWE favored. I guess the best way.
yeah, yeah, it
So,
is.
so I thought he was just Ledge's contract part of the groove, and then when they need him, there he is type of thing. But yeah, man, they lost the Big Show and Mark Henry. That's not a good look.
Well, it'll be interesting to see him on commentary. It's been interesting watching Big Show do his
Well,
thing.
Mark Henry has got really good commentary. The times that he's been on and done things, I mean, his mic skills are solid. I'd say it's better than Big Show. Big Show tonight was really good. He sounded well. His cadence was well. Even had some good banter with Jim Ross.
Yeah,
Um,
he pissed me off Friday though. He really pissed me off Friday. First of all, trying to be all, talking all tough and whatnot to everybody and whatnot, knowing that he ain't gonna do shit. And then him fumbling around with that scale, like he ain't never worked a scale before. Come on, man. And then he knew they were about the same size. So rather than moving everything around and doing, or pretending he's moving everything around, he just should have kept it where it was. They were a pound off. You know, he's just standing there looking crazy, like I didn't practice this before. I've never.
Give him some time. He's no Tony Schiavone, man.
I'm like, but yeah, he was upsetting me. I was like, man, I'm about to turn this.
Funny out there. Weigh-ins as he's done for no reason whatsoever. He would have made it, given that big fight feel. But so yeah, there you have it.
But why? But even then, why do that then? And then they turned around and did it Saturday.
Who knows? Just pomp and circumstance.
No.
That's about all you could chalk that up to. Fill it, just a little bit of filler, just something to do to grow it for no reason. That's about it. But that was it in a nutshell. That was a pay-per-view. I call it. If I had to give it a letter grade, I'd give it an A. What about you?
Yeah, I give it an A.
So
I give it an A. It was
sign.
pretty entertaining. It kept me interested. I mean, not unlike some other organizations and their shows lately. But
Oh no, I agree. I agree. There's no contest in there. Like I said, they got a lot to prove and something big to pull off a Hell in a Cell. Otherwise, I'm be disappointed 2.0. But we'll see. What can happen. I still think the best thing they're producing right now is Talking Smack.
yeah,
And that says a lot.
yeah.
So, especially the last couple of weeks, it's like there's no need in watching it. But thank you guys and gals for hanging out with us. This was just going to be a quick introspective into AEW's first major pay-per-view of the year. Myself, People's Choice, big guy KG will be joining us next time. Then you got the Nubian Sumo James here hanging out. Looking forward to next week where we'll discuss everything that happens this upcoming Friday with Dynamite, and then we'll see what on Raw their rebuttal is to live crowds, hype crowds, full capacity, plus being on this pay-per-view and Friday to see if they're going to give any type of different feel or try to rebuttal with bigger action, better storylines, something. And then we'll see what's going to happen on the indie circuit, especially since there's some moving and shaking. And I guess AEW's doors are starting to open up again, letting people in. And there's going to be some, we're about a month away from non-compete clauses ending. So I know there's some behind the scene negotiations going to where all those people that were let go in WWE a couple months ago will be ending up. So we'll start hearing those rumblings, I would imagine, over the next couple weeks as well. So on the YouTube front, you're already here, so you know where we are. Click the like button, subscribe, all that other fun, crazy stuff. On the podcast side, you got us on Anchor and all the other places you can listen. See if I can remember them all: Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Apple Music, Podtail, Podbean, Pod. Listen, plug in, pull it off the airwaves.com. All that crap. Because I remember half of that KG stuff. That's his job. He got one job. That's all I need to do. I have no idea who that is. Okay, so any final words?
Nah, just konnichiwa, bitches.
Oh, I guess we're gonna go there. Diversify your goddamn bonds. Peace.